Hi.
Short Bus Debate Club. It's a bus rolling.
I can get on board. Hello, I'm Darren Jolly.
It's time to get this short bus started. So let's roll and on with the show. Hi, this is Brian Courtney with Short Bus Debate Club. And I know we've been on a little hiatus. The 4th of July happened.
It's hard during summertime. Summer sometimes.
Yeah, it was hot sometimes. It was raining sometimes.
Yeah. Any excuse that you could possibly think of, we're gonna just throw them all out there. I work a lot sometimes.
So we are doing the second half. Well, not the second half. The second
this is
class.
also Darren Jolly, just for the record.
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
hard. It's hard to remember sometimes when you're not in a good rhythm when you haven't done it for a little while.
I didn't do the intro, but you started talking, so I figured you were okay.
Well, you introduced yourself. I gave you some time. I thought you might recover, but
No, it didn't happen.
okay.
So this is the, I guess, pop culture episode of the environmental shit, the green bubble, the green economy, green energy.
Yeah.
Whatever. So a lot of the movies that have to do with the environment and or green blank, we already talked about in the environmental stuff. So I'm not going to talk.
Definitely documentary stuff.
Yeah. But I was going to talk about some stuff that we didn't talk about that tied to it in sort of strange ways. Because gold, they use a lot of gold in green energy and communications too. So I was going to talk about Deadwood. Also because they use a lot of copper, and Hearst was in Deadwood, and he made a shit ton of money off copper. So I was also going to talk about that shitty Michael Bay movie, Six Underground. And it wasn't a shitty Michael Bay movie. It's Michael Bay is shit, and he made a movie called Six Underground.
Yeah, I mean, he starts from a pretty low spot to begin with. And if you'd like to talk about this at any point in time, Michael Bay, we'd be more than happy to talk to you about how the one-dimensional fucking car exploding, explosion after a car chase into another car chase where there's 17 other fucking explosions, and then you might have some fucking CGI with some Transformers or some stupid shit like that. And you know what? I'm not hating on the Transformers. I'm hating on the way that fucking Michael Bay fucking did the Transformers.
Yeah, he's an asshole. But I was always poor, so I never had Transformers. I had GoBots.
Is that the poor man's Transformer?
Yeah. So
I went in a bunch of different directions, but
I'm sure.
Go. Yeah.
Because you've got notes and shit. I don't have notes.
Mm-hmm.
There was something else I wanted to talk about, and it has just maybe I should have taken notes.
I think we'll probably get around to some other. It'll pop back up in your head.
Yeah, maybe. But I do want to mention we've got a T-shirt available, and I'll put the link in the description so that you guys can buy a T-shirt and support Short Bus Debate Club.
You could show that you're on the short bus too. It's a place to be.
So where do you want to start? I mean, like I said, you've got notes. I don't have shit.
Well, the only thing that I'd say, I mean, and we can go in whatever direction, but I mean, to just sort of the reason, so part of the reason why when I was thinking about the green energy stuff, like I said, I went, and to kind of circle back to some of the stuff we did look at last time, I watched that Planet of the Humans documentary. That's kind of where it started from, and then I was like, well, let me go back and look at what they were talking about in Inconvenient Truth, and one of the things that sort of was that's in our face, part of when I think about the pop culture stuff, it's sort of like the subconscious disposition in relation to certain concepts that we may, I mean, they're always in front of our face, but maybe we don't really think deeply enough at how pervasive they are in our subconscious, right? And when I looked at those two movies standing next to one another, like there was this rhetorical argument that was made about, you know, oil and fossil fuels by the inconvenient truth people that were saying, you know, green energy, green energy, green energy. And then this environmentalist who made the film Planet of the Humans was like, these presuppositions that were driving green energy, when you look at the way the green, as we talked about ad nauseum in the last episode, when they were driving the moves towards green energy, they weren't realizing how nasty those things were going to be in the long run as well. So then we kind of got into the nuclear energy stuff, but the fact is, energy consumption in our society moves at an exponential rate. Like we have gone from, you know, having, you know, and we take for granted that there are places in the world that have very limited grids, you know. So, but when you get to where you have electricity or you have the internet or these various different capabilities that come from energy production, your life changes and you tend to reach out to that energy production position and want to continue to extract more. So again, like it's to say that it's an asymptote, I think is like not sufficient enough. It might be like exponential on exponential on exponential because of how the numbers keep going up. So in film and in TV shows, the concept of energy or the fantasy of having pure energy or clean energy or free limitless energy, or when you look at science fiction, there are all these different components that are structured into like every science fiction, you know, iteration or fantasy iteration, you know, whether it's Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek, you know, so many different. I mean, you go on and on and on forever. The Matrix, you know, all these different places. Energy sort of lies at the center of a lot of what's happening. So when I started to look at movies, like I was looking at spaces where, like the fantasy of what's possible for energy and energy production, and creating a situation like if you're going to imagine in the future, like say for instance Star Trek, like dilithium is what powers the ships in the Federation to be able to go, you know, light speed, warp speed, and all that shit. And it's taken for granted in a lot of the earlier Star Trek stuff, but as time goes on, like dilithium production, gaining access to dilithium in certain spaces.
Yeah, they show them going to planets and trying to find it.
Yeah, Star Trek, like Praxis, is like they talk about how, or
or at least Next Generation did.
Yeah, but so like the Klingons, like in Star Trek 6, and like Praxis was their main dilithium production. In the new Discovery one, in the third season actually, it all hinges around they end up 1,000 years in the future, and spoiler alert, that was like two seasons ago. But they end up 1,000 years in the future, and this incident occurs where all the dilithium in ships blows up. So all these ships end up fucking blowing up. So there's like fucking no dilithium anywhere, and it sort of like leads them in this maze to where they find a huge dilithium location space, and they figure out why it was that they all blew up. And shit.
Oh, okay, that's what I was going to ask. Was it because the dilithium started to break down, and you know?
It's really weird. Like I love Star Trek. I don't know that I can get on board with what happened. So there's this hyper emotive species, and they end up crashing in this sort of like nebula area where there's a planet that's sort of like in the outskirts of it, and they can't get off this planet, and they send, you know, help us, get us out of here, and they're members of the Federation. And there is a child that's born on this planet that's part of these hyper, like empathetic, super, you know, like where what ends up happening is because he's born in this place where like dilithium is like reproducing at like crazy rates, it becomes a part of his, like it's in his bloodstream and shit like that. And it's toxic in the area. So his family ends up all dying. His mom ends up dying, and when his mom dies, he goes crazy for a minute, and it's really weird. So in the crazy moment, like it triggers this gigantic dilithium explosion throughout the universe, right, or throughout the solar system area, wherever they're at. However you fucking the quadrant, I guess that's the way that they talk about it a lot on Star Trek, right? But but nobody knows this, and his mom had created this space for him inside of there where there was like a, what do they call it,
there was a barrier or something to where his thoughts couldn't get out and fuck everything up.
Well, no, they didn't know.
Well, no, but happened. I mean the mom knew.
No, but like there's the spot on the Enterprise where they go to in the Next Generation where it's like their fantasy world place, the holodeck, right? So she creates this holodeck space where he can live and eat and exist, but it's this fantasy space where it keeps him calm. So I don't know whether or not she knew, or it's not clear whether or not she knew, what his capabilities were because of that empathy, but she created this space so that he would be contained, so that the ship that was on the outside of the ship wouldn't affect him or kill him, like in the same way that it killed everybody else there. So that barrier was there, and it created the fantasy world so that he could exist until somebody came and saved him. But he was fucking on there for like 100 years. I mean, he was there by himself for a really long time. And then when they get down there, it's a mess trying to get him out there. But the whole thing is about that dilithium space. And there's some other stuff in Star Trek I'll talk. There's a guy that came into my post office the other day, and if we end up doing a UFO episode at some point in time, he turned me on to something that I had not looked at all called anti-gravitics. Are you familiar with this? Like there's this whole thing that it's based on the Area 51 stuff where they're the idea is that gravity is a source. Like, I mean, you think about like kinetic energy, from like a waterfall, right? Like, so it's like the same ideas, taking energy out of gravity, and utilizing. It's another supposed to be like a clean energy thing. And there's all kinds of conspiracy theories about possibilities with regards to it and whatnot. But the Romulans use a singularity for their warp cores instead of using like a power source like dilithium. So I think on some level, by utilizing a singularity, they're trying to use that kind of concept of anti-gravitics as a way of like pushing their ships through space, which is another, like, is it real? Is it not real? I mean, hoverboards, I mean, whatever, so. But you understand so like I was just looking at all those different caveats with regards to where energy goes.
So, but you mentioned hoverboards just because we thought that they wouldn't exist and now they do.
No, because that's like rooted in there's magnets, but the magnets are related to sort of like anti-gravitics concepts. So
okay,
it's not just straight magnets. There's other things that are a part of that energy concept that's at the bottom of them somehow or another. But nobody's really driving a fucking car, with anti-gravitics,
No, but that day is coming. If you believe the new Total Recall.
Did they do anti-gravitics in that?
I don't know. They had a lot of flying cars, though.
Well, they did in Blade Runner, too, but I don't remember them.
No, they never called it that. But the special effects in the new Total Recall were better than Blade Runner.
Which Blade Runner? 2046?
The real one.
The real one? The second one is the real one. The second one was... The second fucking Blade Runner was 1,000 times better than the remake of the fucking Total Recall. The original Total Recall.
Oh, I don't like the Total Recall at all. I mean the original with Arnold, but...
Yeah, which is horrible fucking effects, but a much better movie.
Yeah, but I don't like the new Blade Runner with fucking Ryan Gosling. I mean, it's okay, but...
Dude, it's really philosophically interesting.
I love the first one.
Whatever. I love the first one too, but I mean, I think that there's some, but whatever. But in the old Total Recall, you have the alien reactor.
And I was going to mention that too, because I mean, we're talking about running out of water and arable land and all of this stuff with the mining and the pollution, and Mars is a fucked up planet with no atmosphere, nobody can breathe, and they've found that weird alien the remnants of that alien civilization, and the way you started it was you had to have 3 fingers, which I thought it was funny because at the end they push it in, kind of do like a Spock with the thumb.
Well, you got to get. I mean, you don't have the good 3 fingers, so you
Right.
got to jiggity jag your fingers.
But then, Arnold and his the slutty sporty girl, whatever he called her, demure, slutty demure,
sleazy, I think was the word they used. You be honest, sleazy.
They're both suffocating because they went outside of the dome, and then all of a sudden, like 30 seconds later, their eyes pop back in their head and they can breathe.
If you're gonna tell it, you gotta do. They're not just suffocating; their eyes are fucking like an inch and a half out of their head.
Right, because of the pressure.
Stephanie fucking posted something like a year ago, like she'd gotten sick and she wasn't feeling well, so she posted the picture of the fucking eyes popping out of her head. And I sent her a copy of Total Recall and said, I'm sorry. I hope this will make you feel better. she's a good, horrible science fiction person.
But all of those people in the dome were suffocating too, because the guy, the evil, what would you call him, dictator?
It like a dictator where there's only like 3,000 people.
Well, he was a dictator. He was a corporation because he ran the mines and stuff.
He's the same one that was in RoboCop too. He was the same bad guy in RoboCop, wasn't he?
I think so. Yeah. But I mean, so he had shut off their air in the, I don't know, the bad part of town where the whorehouses and everything were, and that 3-titted girl was there.
Yeah, the people who had been affected by the Mars
and all
atmosphere.
the mutants.
Yeah, the mutants. Yeah.
So we had shut down their oxygen, and so they were all suffocating too. But they had started suffocating like way before Arnold and his slutty demure girl.
Did they break? Did they break something and get expelled, or did they? I can't remember how they got expelled from the.
Because they had been shooting, and Michael Ironside shot a hole in the side of the dome.
The dome did break,
and it sucked them all out.
But Ironside died. His eyes popped fully out.
Yeah.
His eyes didn't only pop half out, because if your eyes only pop half out, as soon as
it starts raining.
Yeah, you get that nuclear reactor going that was created by the aliens, and the nuclear reactor goes like it heats the rods, let the core, and then like within seconds you have atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And then suddenly you can breathe. It's in the annals of science fiction, film, definitely the most believable ending maybe ever.
Dude, it was awesome though.
Dude, for 1980s bad science fiction, like Arnold always had that going on. I mean, The Running Man was fucking good, retarded fucking science fiction. Was there other ones that he did?
Well, he did a whole shitload. I mean, he not necessarily science fiction though. I mean, but from fucking like 1983 with the Terminator.
Of course, the Terminator. Yeah.
Through probably
iridium nuclear cells in the Terminator.
Through probably 95, he was in just about every act. It was him, Bruce Willis, and fucking Sly. Those were the 3 guys that were in like every movie.
Like if Bruce Willis is your best actor, you're it's pretty fucking thin times,
Well, it's like the whole thing, dude. I mean, they keep hiring Michael Bay, and it's because he's a fucking draw. It's not because he makes good movies. There was so the movie Get Shorty, and this doesn't have anything to do with
we're in Tangent
the
City.
environment.
We're in Tangent City ground right now. I get it.
But Gene Hackman plays a producer, but he's been getting money from these guys that are kind of shady. They sell coke, and he owes them like $200,000, but he doesn't have it because he went to Vegas and gambled it away. So he's like, well, I'll give you 20 points in my next movie, but you can't have a piece of this one. And dude says, I don't care which movie you put us in. Take our 20 points and put it in this one. And he goes, no, you can't have it. This is this is a good one. You can't have it. And he goes, I don't care about your movies. I've seen better film on teeth.
That is a Michael Bay.
That's a Michael Bay movie.
Yes. Yeah. I saw it. I saw the whole thing develop there. But everything that Michael Bay, like if the best movie you've made is The fucking Rock, how in the name of Zeus's butthole, do you produce such shitty movies?
And that was a horrible fucking movie.
No, well, dude, that's like the line that, there's two memorable lines in the movie, and that's the best line, it's not a good thing. It's never a fucking good thing.
No, Michael Bay sucks. Yeah, whatever. So, since we're talking about Michael Bay, should I talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah. You should have just not even asked. That would have been a much cleaner segue.
Well, I just wanted to make sure because we kind of were bouncing around there for a little bit. I was talking about Get Shorty for Christ's sakes.
We got a lot of time.
So,
Karen, what was the name of the Michael Bay movie again?
Six Underground.
And it's a Netflix. It's a new Netflix movie.
Yeah, I think it was 2021, 2022. It's recent. But it's one of those that they suggest. I ignore, and finally give in to the fucking peer pressure of Netflix.
You have no willpower.
Well, it's also because there's nothing but shit on, so you might as well watch shit. So Six Underground is about this billionaire, played by Ryan Reynolds, who puts a team of, I'm going to call them operatives because, like, one's a CIA agent, which I don't quite understand because she's French. One is...
That's Michael Bay for you, though, right?
Right. One is a doctor who's from Spain. There's a dude who can do parkour who's from England, which he probably should have been from France because parkour is big there. Apparently.
What is parkour?
That's the one where they fucking jump from building to building.
That's some weird shit, dude. It's kind of cool though. Some of that's crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of like the little guy from Ocean's 11.
James Franco's brother, Dave, is in it at the beginning, and he's the driver, but he's not a very good driver because a forklift kills him. So they have to find a new operative to fill his spot. But just in the opening fucking scene, I think like 25 cars died. They were flipping over things. They were doing all of this. And it was funny. It was kind of like the A-Team. So the A-Team, they used to fucking shoot guns all over and cars would blow up and everything, but nobody died. Well, this one, the bad people died, but none of the innocent bystanders that were all over the fucking side of the road, driving alongside the cars. There were people everywhere. And none of them died. They drove through a fucking museum and nobody died except the bad people. Or Dave Franco.
So Dave Franco was a bad guy?
Well, no, he was part of Ryan Reynolds' team.
But he was the expendable part of Ryan Reynolds' team.
Yeah, clearly. Because if you die in the opening scene, you've got to be expendable.
Yeah. Thanks for explaining that part.
That's what I'm here for. So the reason that I mentioned this movie, it was kind of a coincidence. But the reason Ryan Reynolds was a billionaire is because he made all of his money off of magnets, specifically neodymium, whatever the fucking rare earth element magnets are. So
the real ones, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the way he, according to the script, made all of his money. So I thought it was kind of funny that he's complaining about how shitty the world is, but he made all of his money off of fucking, again, for every 1 ton of rare earth elements that are mined, 2,000 tons of fucking toxic waste are built. So this dude's a billionaire from, creating these magnets, and he thinks the world is shit and he's going to clean it up, which is why he puts this team together to go and kill bad people. when in reality he should have just fucking eaten a bullet himself and maybe shot Michael Bay.
I can't find a good pronunciation of neodymium.
Neodymium, I've heard it called dymium, but I don't know. It's one of those fucking weird, probably Latin. I didn't even look it up. I'm guessing it's Latin. But yeah, so Six Underground, if you like, and I'm a fan of action movies. I like people getting shot. I like shit blowing up.
But you want something a little, I mean, otherwise you would like Michael Bay.
Right. There's got to be a certain, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I talked to you a couple of weeks ago and said we should do a show about the bullshit that they show in movies and TV shows that I think people think are fucking real, even though they're just not.
You were talking about the way that a person has their knife on their getup.
Well, that was part of it, but silencers were part of it. The fucking blowing up thing, like in the movie The Hurt Locker, you know, fucking what's his name who plays Hawkeye is walking away from that fucking bomb.
Jeremy Renner.
And it blows up. Mm-hmm. And he's, 100, 150 feet away from it. And granted, he's got the bomb suit on, but he just kind of gets up and dusts himself off and walks away. A concussion like that would fucking rupture your fucking internal organs, dude. Seriously. I mean, so anyway, yeah, movies are full of shit.
All right,
I digress.
Neodymium.
Neodymium.
So, like earlier today, I was listening to something on Breaking Points, and Crystal made a reference to Bill McKibben, as if Bill McKibben is, since I talked about him a little bit in the last episode. He said, like as if he was an appeal to authority in this comment on environmentalism. And I said, I just put a note in it, and I said, Bill McKibben is hardly a solid appeal to authority example when critiquing environmental or energy policy, because she's talking shit about Obama, because this guy did an interview with Obama. There we go. Do it again. Put it down there. Come on. We can do a little sound bite here.
Maybe. I don't know where the fuck my speakers are underneath the laptop.
I heard it. It came through. I don't think that's going to come out very good.
No, so. Let me.
There we go. Much better. So, and this kid, he's like, sometimes Democrats talk a mean game about the direction they want to go when it comes to policy, and he actually had this soundbite, and he made Obama listen to it, where Obama was talking about all of the increase in energy production under his 8 years as being president, and he's like, you guys all want to talk about how I didn't do anything for energy, but I was the one that increased energy production more than anybody. So he's sitting there talking about how his youngest daughter, is 24 now, came to him and said, my friends all think they're basically nihilists. Like, why the fuck should we give a fuck? You guys aren't doing anything. You all talk a mean game. You're telling the fucking truth,
Yeah.
And he's like, even though we might pass that 2-degree benchmark, even if it only goes to 2.5 or 3 degrees, that might be 200 or 300 million people that you're saving. Which one of those comments that makes me want to fucking take him and drown his fucking ass.
Just put him on one of those fucking islands that are being flooded because of all of the extra water.
Let him be one of the fucking 200 million people that fucking die as a result of it. But the kid really pinned him down hard. And then Crystal starts to talk shit about it, and then uses Bill McKibben as an example of somebody who, wouldn't be going along with it. And then I was like, come on, he's not the one. And this fucking jackass says in response to my thing, he drunk the nuclear Kool-Aid, right? As if
in response to
my comment. And because
you commented on that.
Okay. I mean, like, if critiquing Bill McKibben's, like sucking on the fucking green energy cock means that I, and I like, whatever, fucking dumb people are just so.
Well, dude, he really is a green energy whore.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what he is.
That is, yeah.
And for billions of dollars, which is what I'm guessing he's getting, he's sucking green cock all day long.
Well, and
biomass green cock.
Every
mining.
I imagine the person that made the comment is probably sucking his Bill McKibben's green energy cock. I mean,
just so. Since you're talking about McKibben, I want to talk about Planet of the Humans. Okay. I didn't think I was going to like it. I liked a lot of what they had to say.
It was at least important.
The main reason I didn't think I was going to like it is because Michael Moore was involved. And the dude that actually was the narrator is Michael Moore's buddy. Whatever. It was informative. It was a quality movie, even though, and granted, I had done reports on it before, so a lot of the information I had already knew, and it was kind of a repeat. The one thing that I absolutely fucking hated that made no sense to me at all is the end. I know it made sense because we're fucking stripping the land of everything, but those baboons or whatever the fuck they were walking around trying to find, a tree
or dying.
Yeah. It was orangutans, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was orangutans. Yes, it was. You're racist against orangutans, dude.
That was just a cop out as far as I'm concerned. That is as bad as Flavor Flav wearing fucking sunglasses and a clock. It's a gimmick to make people say, "Oh, too bad." And believe me, dude, I fucking hate it. I hate that we're taking away their environment.
I didn't take it exactly like that.
No?
No. I actually took it as what you're seeing happen to these orangutans right now, motherfuckers. This is you in 20 years. That's the way that I took it.
It would have been more effective than if they would have had pictures of orangutans scratching their ass and fucking watching TikTok.
Well, TikTok was when the film was made. TikTok wasn't in existence yet, Or if they had the orangutans lying on the ground and they put like the Short Bus Debate Club like president heads on the orangutans,
right?
That would have been fucking. That would have been fucked up. But sometimes you need some dark humor like that, like the death humor, like. We're getting ready to die.
Well, dude, I mean, seriously, we are getting ready to die. And I know that we're killing off fucking species left and right, or coming real close to killing them, if not completely eradicating them. But it just, like I said, it just felt like it was, throwing that in there.
Yeah, sometimes. Maybe sometime. I'm not making apologies for anything. Like those scenes were just nasty anyway, dude.
Yeah.
And it is a pure appeal to emotion, and that, like, and part of the reason why, like, I wanted to sort of end where we ended up last time was we're not trying to appeal to anybody's emotion. Like, so what I said back to the guy, right? And I only just said one thing real quick, right? I said when identifying the weakness of one commentator's policy position is reducible to drinking the nuclear Kool-Aid, it's clear that thought and dialogue are on life support, right? I mean, we don't need to appeal to emotion. We know we're fucked, right? The only thing that's going to happen is for us to try to develop concrete solutions that minimize the death toll at this point in time. That's it, I mean, Michael Schellenberger, you're still a douchebag, You cannot. And again, like I said last time, if your argument is to move back to oil and fossil fuels because you're already using them as a stopgap, which is increasing, it's 3 times as much as you were using in the first place, because you're trying to create a transition to something that's more reasonable, I'm down for that. But you are not. That is definitely not the clear argument you're making. You're making an argument for capitalism moving things forward in a world where, as I've argued in several other episodes, capitalism does not exist on a grand scale anymore. It only exists for us poor motherfuckers at the bottom of the fucking rung. So don't fucking talk to me about the free market fucking correcting these solutions. The free market is what got green energy into a position to where we're financially committed to it in the same way that we're financially committed to oil and fossil fuels. We need to find a way to where the market isn't dictating energy development, energy policy. We need to create a survivor method of creating energy development, energy policy if we're going to have any shot at anything.
Well, that's the thing, is that if these people would just fucking back off, like they want to create new laws for every fucking thing.
Yeah, regulation is not the.
But if they just backed off and said, you know what, we need to look at this in a bigger picture view. Right now, the way things are going, we have maybe 25 years left.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe,
yeah.
And that's just me speculating.
We're not the scientists.
Nobody has said 25 years. No. Actually, I've heard some scientists say less than that.
Much the 12-year thing was what they said during the last election cycle. But whatever.
But so they say, let's say 25 years. Mm-hmm. So we need to come up with a fucking solution that can benefit us longer term. And when I say longer term, I mean longer than 25 years. Because right now, everyone is working under the assumption that he who dies with the most toys wins. You can't take that fucking money with you, you dumb cocksuckers. If you drown, if you suffocate.
Everyone's not operating with that assumption, but there is a tendency inside of the system.
Bill McKibben and a lot of the energy guys are definitely.
Well, so that's what but I just said, like, but they're not everyone. They're the everyones that have lots of toys.
They're the ones that are driving the cogs.
That's the distinction that I'm trying to make. Like, and like a lot of people down at the bottom have the fantasy that they're going to be, in that position driver at some point in time, which is fucking dumb anyway. There can only be so many cog drivers, and if
we all work for Space Lee Sprocket, dude. We make the cogs.
Yeah, I am cogging to be sure. But that's why we're so preoccupied on all these different fucking movies and TV shows. But that's what's so interesting about it too. So like in the sci-fi spaces, like Star Wars, like fucking Star Trek, like we're past that point where we've already created that energy space where it's happening, and we're like living the fucking fantasy. In all these other spaces, you have like the development of these things, like in the Saint, right? You got like the cold fusion fantasy that fucking goes along in that one, which is what was the energy one in the one that you were just talking, the 600 one or 6?
It wasn't energy, it was magnets. Because of the neodymium.
So what? Oh, that's just how he made all of his money.
Yeah, because basically, so these magnets, and you know where I've got my laundry bags hung?
Yes.
From that beam?
Yes.
That's a neodymium magnet. They're fucking strong as shit, dude. They're badass, but they're also, I didn't know when I bought it that it was fucking bad for the environment. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have just bought a plain old magnet.
Yeah, even if you just go look at dictionary.com, like immediately it fucking says toxic this way, that way, this way, and that way. Like in the fucking second definition.
So it's related to energy because of the fact that, like, the nuclear turbines are going to use them, the wind turbines are going to use them, anything that has a turbine. Steam.
They need those magnets because that's what helps to get them going and staying going and to create the energy, or what?
It generates the electricity.
Okay.
When you spin the magnets, I think you've got to spin one way and the other.
Oh, because it's like a generator at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not very good at the science of this stuff. I'm truly a sci-fi person when it comes down to it. But that's the thing though. Like again, like Total Recall, you have the alien fantasy in the future. But like, Dan Brown, like Angels and Demons, right? This is just a goofy movie about the Vatican, right? Well, kind of. It's a movie about the Vatican that clashes because, of course, they like to have these antithetical positions in there.
That was the one Dyro liked, I think, because of the dark matter thing, right?
Yeah. So, but there's this thing called the God particle in it, right? And yeah, it's being held in this space, and it's going to open. It's going to create a big, because when matter and antimatter collide, then it creates a big problem, right? And the movie's totally fucking hacky, but at the same time, It's about like a religious scientist that's at that fucking like accelerator place in Switzerland
The
where
CERN.
yeah, CERN, yes, exactly. Yeah, good. Yeah, you're not bad. And
Thank you
again,
for your approval.
I'm here for you, you fucking dickhead. But again, like it's that fantasy of like trying to create that fucking perfect energy position. Like we we want to. I mean, look at fucking Marvel. You know, like everything in Marvel is about fucking energy. Iron Man with the arc reactor, the new element that Tony creates after he can't use the whatever the I can't remember what it was, iridium, whatever it is, catalyst, whatever it is. Black Panther, vibranium, right? Captain Marvel like is around this fucking nuclear explosion and becomes the energy lady. And how many different times they bring up the Tesseract and the capability of the Tesseract in it. I mean, everything in that little close to the near future science fiction position is about this space. You know, Avatar, unobtainium, right? Fucking the Matrix. They don't talk about like so there's, I mean, solar was a part of what was happening, but the machines were dependent on solar. So we shut off the nuclear. Allegedly, we shut off the nuclear weapons to block out the sun from the sky. And instead of them depending on solar, they create the fields of humans because we create many BTUs, and that's what the Matrix is, and that's the whole fucking thing. I mean, energy. Every fucking where you turn, whether it's Marvel or the flux capacitor or whatever.
Yeah, there's no way we can go without it. I mean, if you look at one of the pictures from space, you can see the cities that are lit up that actually have like electricity, and you can see cities that are lit up that are using like wood or coal or whatever. And it's like, you know, a huge fucking blip on the screen, like say for New York City or whatever, and then somewhere in South America it's this fucking tiny little orange dot. And that might not be a fire. I don't know, but it's definitely not a city.
Yeah, the energy is not, the energy output is not.
Well, I mean, those guys in Africa, they burn shitloads of fires because they steal the fucking oil from the pipeline and then process it themselves to make gas. So, I mean, that's a fucking catastrophe in and of itself. But, yeah, that's how a lot of them make their fucking money is making their own gas.
So I'm gonna see if you can talk for 3 minutes about a TV show or a movie again right now, because you keep making left turns to all these other places that have nothing to do with pop culture at all. Just people fucking dying, just us fucking destroying ourselves. Sorry. So you wanted to talk about Deadwood. Why'd you want to talk about Deadwood?
Because, well, no, I shouldn't talk about Deadwood, especially with the fucking prerequisite that you just put on me about.
It's about pop culture.
Yeah, but so Deadwood is one of the greatest shows ever. Dyro told me that he thought that I liked it because they said cocksucker a lot, and that's not true.
You got some.
That's one of the pluses. Brian? No, but I just cuss a lot. So, and when I worked with him, I used to call everybody a cocksucker. So he thought that that's why.
Why does cocksucker have to be a derogatory term, though?
Well, it's not. Like, I've called a couple of girls cocksuckers, and
yeah, that's not derogatory. Yeah, I gotta say.
A term of endearment.
I really like you, cocksucker. You're wonderful. You're a very good cocksucker.
And then I'd pat her on the head.
You might get punched by someone from that. Not me, but I could see Janae smacking you for that one.
So
Deadwood, cocksucker.
Deadwood was about mining in South Dakota. Deadwood, South Dakota specifically.
You don't say.
Well, initially they were mining gold. I just remembered the other one I wanted to talk about. But they were mining gold.
What was it?
I'll remember.
Just say
Justified.
Okay. You brought that up a week or so ago. Okay. Gold.
So they're mining gold, but Hearst was also involved in the show, who was mining gold, but he had made a ton of money elsewhere mining other ores. Copper at the Anaconda mine, silver at Comstock.
Those motherfuckers should have been killed.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah, a lot of people got fucked over.
Yeah. So the reason that I mentioned those specifically with Hearst is because copper is used in all of the green energies that we talked about on the last episode, and gold to some degree.
The value of copper has gone up a ton over the course of the last several years, man.
Because of everything because even if we're not talking about green energy, it's still going into the cell phones, computers.
They use it for everything.
It's going all throughout the house, and we've got to build a new fucking house every 10 years because, that's no good for me. I need to have another 3 rooms.
That's no good for me. You're very working class, and I really appreciate
this house is too small. It's only got 2,000 square feet.
You couldn't even. You don't have the bougie in you at all. You just don't really have it there.
No, not really. I suppose I can be kind of bougie, but not really.
So Deadwood.
Yeah. So the reason I really wanted to talk about it, not only because it's a great show, but because of the gold thing. Well, no, see, that's us dying and stuff.
You can talk. I don't tell you can't. I'm just telling you to talk about pop culture in the context of talking about all these energy and destruction things, motherfucker.
So when you mine for gold, the ore is generally embedded in other rock, quartz specifically.
Yeah.
But other rock, period. So, for the most part, especially these days, you don't find just a fucking chunk of gold. So they have these huge leach fields where it's this chemical process that is going to pull the gold out of the rock.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, it's creating all of this fucking toxicity so that either we can have communications because of the conductivity of gold, or shiny shit because everybody needs to have a big gold fucking necklace on. So that's why I wanted to mention Deadwood.
I don't need a girl with a gold necklace. I need a girl with a pearl necklace.
She wore a pearl necklace.
I didn't say anything about patting anybody on the head, motherfucker. So I didn't say anything about patting anybody on the head, cocksucker.
So, for those of you that have not seen Deadwood, it does talk about mining in a great deal. But it's a Western.
I think my favorite
one of the greatest shows ever.
My favorite scene is the Calamity Jane scene in season number 2, which is also a cocksucker scene.
You mean the one where she was talking about the Finnish guy that brought her flowers and shit?
And asked if he's the one that asked if he could suck her cock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's devastating. Brutal. She was a crazy, ugly chick, though.
And both Seth Bullock and fucking Charlie Utter were like, huh? What was that? I can't hear. Yeah, it's hysterical. And it's true to life for the most part. You know, there are some fake characters, but Seth Bullock is real. Charlie Utter's real. Calamity Jane, obviously. Wild Bill Hickok.
Mm-hmm. He dies in one of them, doesn't he?
Adams, yeah, he dies in episode 3 or 4 of the first season.
Oh, okay, so he's gone quick.
Yeah. Because he wasn't there that long.
Mm-hmm.
The Earps ended up dropping by Deadwood. I still haven't been able to figure out if that's true historically or not, because I get conflicting evidence. when I do my research, so I don't know for sure if the Earps were there, but they were real regardless of whether or not they were in Deadwood.
They were real, yes.
Adams was real. So it's a good show. And it talks about gold mining. And Hearst is also real.
It's tough though when you have these things that produce these awful things, but they also create all these like wonderfully interesting random things that go along with them, you know?
You mean the show?
The
or
circumstances
just the fucking
of Deadwood.
entire...
Yeah, the circumstances of Deadwood, you know, or, I mean, all these things in general.
Well, dude, all of them. I mean, Sutter's Mill, California, probably wouldn't have boomed the way that it did. We wouldn't have fucking stolen it from Mexico if they hadn't found all that gold.
What was going to be the first capital of Colorado?
Colorado Springs. Oh, no, that was the first mint, is where they had proposed it.
Central City.
Yeah.
I mean, it drives everything. Like the movement of people west, it was all about gold and money, you know, and other types of mining, you know, copper or whatever. Wherever everybody like you said, the Anaconda mine. So that was all. It just drove it created a lot of wonderful stories that are, you know, mostly mythologized probably.
Molly Brown made all of her money in silver, or her husband did.
Yeah.
Well, and lead, because they had a big place up in Leadville, which I guess, if we're talking about pop culture, then the only show I know where she showed up was that fucking stupid Titanic movie.
Oh, you love the Titanic. You sit there and watch it. Never let go.
That was the longest fucking bullshit I've ever had to watch.
You know, it's a movie where, like, I actually like the first half of it until they hit the fucking, and I don't give a fuck whether they die or not. It's just so fucking ridiculously melodramatic after that. And they do all the stupid shit on the side where, like, the violin, you know, them playing the music the whole time, because that was part of the mythology, you know.
I've seen it once. I have no
But you
fucking
know what
idea.
fucking happened on the Titanic. You've heard about the mythology of it, right?
The fucking iceberg and sunk.
Jesus Christ, dude. Like, you don't know anything. I mean, as much as you know about all of these very specific aspects of history, you don't have to watch the Titanic to know that there was like...
Dude, I don't give a fuck about boats. We live in Colorado.
That's wonderful.
I mean, from a historical perspective.
You know, like pirates or anything like that, you know?
I don't know shit about pirates either. Well, maybe some about pirates.
See,
but that's because pirates were gangsters.
So then you like boats. It has nothing to do with where you're fucking located, motherfucker. And those were all a bunch of fucking rich-ass fucking moguls on the fucking Titanic, so those were gangsters too. You just don't like those kind of gangsters.
Maybe. I don't know. I just never really looked into it that much. I mean, Molly Brown, I thought she was cool. I know where both of her houses are here. But yeah, I never read up about the Titanic. What's the mythology that you're giving me so much shit about?
Just so like for instance, these dudes kept playing the musicians. They played music the whole time. Like, they just kept playing music.
So the boat's sinking.
And they're playing music the whole fucking time. And they died. So, and in one of the instances, I have no fucking idea how I know this, but one of the instances, because I hate it when fucking people are repressive cockbags, one of the guys that fucking drowned, the company that leased him his uniform tried to go to the family and charge them for the loss of the uniform. No shit.
Fuck that.
Yeah, dude. No shit. They
like sent the Pinkertons or something.
It's trying to collect something. You know, I think these people were poor as fuck. I mean, their dad was a fucking violinist on the fucking Titanic, so it's not like they were playing for the fucking New York Philharmonic or something. So.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure even if we were playing for the New York Philharmonic in 1917, you probably were not. You know,
I don't know for sure which would be worse, because I do know that water was cold because they had an iceberg.
That's some nice logic.
So I don't know, like, whether or not if I was fucking playing the stand-up bass, if I'd be like, fuck this, I'm jumping, or if I'd say, fuck it, I'm just gonna keep playing.
If I'm going down. doing what I love. I don't think that they were. I think they were mostly using bow stuff. I don't think there was a lot of. There was no jazz being played. There was no bum.
Okay.
You might have like broken off and created your own band.
Yeah.
I want to fucking play this.
The I'm fucked and I'm gonna fucking drown band. So we're coming up on an hour. What else do you have?
I got all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
I can go on forever with this stuff. So, something that I'll come to more in the second half, though, in some of these movies so one of my favorite like films of all time is Cloud Atlas. Like I just think this is a really fucking cool movie. But like the movie itself is about a million different things that happen throughout like all these different moments in time that are kind of like weaving around, and it's like these characters that are it's not like they're being reincarnated in a traditional sense, but there is some sort of concept of soul that's sort of like at the center of it, right? And they keep running into one another throughout time. Like Halle Berry has these characters, and Tom Hanks has these characters, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're evil. They're complicated, right? But there's an instance where in the 1970s, Halle Berry is playing she's a writer for some goofy ass fucking. She's a beat writer for. I cannot remember the name of the stupid. It's not really all that important, but it's a 1970s sort of like pop magazine kind of. Spyglass was the name of the gossip paper, and she's writing a letter or an article. She meets this guy. Who tells her that there's some weird information that he has for her about this nuclear reactor out east. No, they're in San Francisco, so it's out west. I think that probably on some level,
it's west of San Francisco.
No, it's out west. It's by San Francisco where the nuclear reactor is at. I think that they're sort of like thinly veiling some of the 3 Mile Island stuff though, because. She meets this guy in an elevator, like the elevator, like somehow or another, this elevator stops. She's trying to escape from this party where this like musician guy is trying to fuck her because she's a writer for this gossip magazine, right? And the guy's like, I have some weird, something happens to where he decides that he trusts her, and he realizes that she's a writer. And he says, I have some information about this nuclear reactor, and I need to get it out. But I have to be really careful about how I do it. So he arranges a meeting with her where he's going to give her this report, right? And he gets killed by one of Hugo Weaving's many characters in the film, Bill Smoke, who is sort of like the insidious character that's protecting the interests of oil and gas interests in this film, or in this time period in the film. And so Halle Berry goes and tries to find more information, and she goes to the reactor and gets a meeting with the guy who's the head of it. The guy who's the head of it is Hugh Grant. His name is Lloyd Hooks. He's actually an oil and gas lobbyist. So there's like this question: how the fuck does an oil and gas lobbyist get to the head of a nuclear power plant, right? But of course, like the point of the film isn't this like grand scheme or a theory about what's going on with this. There's all these other things that are happening as it moves in and out of all these various different plots. Of course, it turns out that they're sabotaging the plant, right? Because they want to make sure that U.S. energy policy stays with oil and gas, doesn't make a transition to nuclear. And the way that the 3 Mile Island stuff went down, and the way that it redirected everything to where all of U.S. policy with regards to energy really, really continued to focus on oil and gas, coal, and all that kind of shit. Natural gas, like it just sort of made me think about that. But in the film itself, they take this other parallel discussion where this Korean actress, I don't know if it's Duna Bai or Bai Duna, I don't know which way her name goes, because they put it in weird directions sometimes. but she was also in Sense8. She was in.
Was she the badass karate chick?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, she's fucking awesome in that fucking show. But yeah, like straight MMA fucking motherfuckers up, you know. There's a wonderful episode in the show called "I Put My Money on the Skinny Bitch." I put the smart money on the skinny bitch, which is a wonderful name for it.
And I know it's not really karate. That was just the term that I used.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, no matter what, she's awesome in it. But ultimately, um, so like in the future that she's in, it's a new soul, right? And it's way in the future. The ice caps have all melted. The seas are raising. They talk like briefly in it about how in another 50 years, New Soul will be underwater. But in this world, there's pureborn people that are born from a womb, and people that are born from a test tube, right? People that are grown. And the people that are grown are part of an underclass. And
that's kind of like Gattaca. Kind of.
Yeah, but but like worse, like because it's so like when the people, all of these people that are grown, like where she works in this sort of commercial zone where all of the women that work at this restaurant, they sleep there, they eat there, they're taught this religion that teaches them like one of the commandments is honor thy consumer, you know. So like they're bred as an underclass, and they're bred beautiful. They're there to serve. They're treated as servants, and if they do what they're supposed to, they go to this part where they're sort of taught that they're going to go up to this sort of like exaltation is what they call it, this sort of heaven space. And all they basically do is they take them into this room, they put a cap on their head, and the cap fucking is just like a cattle prod, and they take them, liquefy them, and feed them to the next generation of people that are grown in test tubes. It's very similar to what they talk about in the Matrix.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You and I talked about this.
There's no doubt that this concept has been something that's in the Wachowskis, I don't know how they say their name, in their mind since they made the Matrix films. The concept of these underclasses, or a subservient class that exists for the sake of another class, right? But that's sort of the point that I was getting at in it. So you have this whole energy concept with regards to the way that they're dealing with nuclear power in the film, and about how if there was going to be a space where you would have not a perfect source of energy, but a different source of energy, and a source of energy that we need to at least look at scientifically. We need to at least think about scientifically and understand that like there are financial interests that will press us to not be able to look at that scientifically, because they don't give a fuck whether this planet's going to be here 25 years from now, because they're going to keep making all the fucking money they want and go suck Elon Musk's dick and fucking build their fucking spaceship and go to some fucking Mars or wherever it is they're going to fucking go, or maybe we'll just fucking all die and they don't give a fuck either way. But they don't want to look at any other possibilities. They don't want to look at scientific possibilities. They're not interested in science. They're not interested in truth. They're interested in making money. So that's one concept of energy. And then there's this other concept of energy, to where there's people that are being produced for the sake of other people's existence and enjoyment only. And so like part of the story of what the fuck do they call her? Somni. Here, I have to, out of respect for the point of the film, I have to find her name. God damn it. Somni 451. Because they have the name and then they have a number, because that's all you are. And you're just a replica of, you know, there's Somni number 1, there's Somni number 2, so on and so forth. And they all look like Luna Bay, you know? And they lead her through this space where this guy saves her, and then he takes her to where it is that he's from, which is like this underground space where there are some other Samis that have escaped, and they're just prostitutes now. But it's where the other people that are part of the lower class, not part of the consumer class. So there's the Sami class, There's the people that live underground, and then there's the consumers, and then there's the people that rule it all, right? So it's sort of like you could break it into sort of a four-tier system like that, right? And there's a revolutionary organization that develops in the sewer areas where those people all live, where they're eating rats to fucking survive, and just not a very fucking happy space. But ultimately, where it ends up at is they're sort of leading her to where because they've never had one that has her like she lived in this space where she was exposed to philosophy, and she got into Solzhenitsyn and all these different things, where she became very curious and excited about the possibility of the mind, which people that are from the test tubes like her just they haven't had that space that's been created for them, and they wanted her to like have an opportunity to sort of organically get to the point where she understood how the world that she was living in was being reproduced. So how the other, like particularly women that were like her, were being utilized. So he takes the guy who shows her all these different things, takes her to the general, the one that's the head of this sort of revolutionary organization, and he says he says, we need someone like you to sort of like galvanize this. And she says, I'm not the one. I don't have I don't have that in me, right? And he says that's okay. I'm not here to convince you of anything. If you do it, you only do it because you feel like you have to do it because you want to do it, right? But he says, I need you to see one thing before you make your mind up permanently, right? And that was when they take her to the boat where they take him to exaltation, they kill him, they turn them into the food, and then they reproduce the other ones. So she sees the full process of the full life cycle of all the other women who are like her. And of course, like after she sees that, she's like, fuck that shit. She's like, if I don't say anything, then it's going to continue to perpetuate the system over and over and over again. So I have to do something. And the resolution of the film, she's talking to this individual, and it's the same individual that was talking to Halle Berry. So it's the character that was with Halle Berry that ends up getting killed by Bill Smoke from earlier in the film, and he's the person who takes down the actions of Somni 451 for the sake of posterity, for the sake of history, so that the people that are in power know how it was and what it was that she was doing, what motivated her, because they want to create a more perfect system of domination, right? And he says, why did you do what you do, knowing that, because they had absolute technological power over, there's no way there was going to be a revolution that they were going to win. And she makes this very like wretched of the earth Frantz Fanon kind of answer, and she said, I couldn't let it go without doing nothing. We know we couldn't win. So ultimately our act was a pure act of symbolism. We knew that it wasn't, but as a person of conscience, and once I knew what the reality was, like how I had survived, how I was eating other women, without knowing it, I had to say fuck you, and I didn't give a fuck if I lived or died. I'd rather die on my feet than fucking live on my knees. So at the end, he asks her, and it's cool. They have like this weird little conversation at the end, and he says one more question, because they come and they're taking her so that they can go execute her at that point. And he says, how do you know no one, if anyone will ever believe what you say? And she says, I already know one person believes me, because she knew when she was looking at him that whether you feel it or not, when you hear the truth, and you really are a seeker of something, it's gonna be real, So I mean, the reason why I love the film is because it hits on all those different levels. You have it where it has those real energy questions, and then the energy for the social, the class system that exists in a very powerful and pervasive way, and of course it's all metaphor, right, for our current moment, but it's a critique of current systems of power on every level as well. So
really, they really do that movie in pretty much all their movies.
Yeah, and we'll talk about The Matrix more afterwards, because there's no doubt The Matrix is maybe one of the most important discussions that they ever had with regards to energy, and energy as it relates to revolution. So,
yeah. Well, and just that one is just well, we can wait and talk about it because
we have time.
Yeah, we definitely do.
And I rattled on there for about 20 minutes or 15 minutes.
Probably. I know. I kept thinking about fucking saying yeah or that sounds like or something, but I thought no, he's on a fucking roll.
I had to get to the end of that one. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So that actually your description, because I've never watched it. I mean, I think that's one where you've really got to focus, and like too many times I've turned it on and I'm like, fuck this, I'm done. I turn it off probably within the first 15-20 minutes.
It's a different kind of narrative. It's a very oddly woven, like but dude, like when they do good, they do really, really, really good. When they do poorly, I want to fucking put my head through a fucking window. You know,
I'm a big fan of the Wachowskis.
I do, but like that stupid one with fucking, with the dude with the lichen ears and
yeah, Juniper is.
Yeah, Jupiter Ascending. Yeah, I mean, and that one had so much possibility, but they fucked up so fucking bad.
Yeah, they spent too much time with the weird characters, like just showing off the sci-fi portion, you know. Oh well, and then
but the harvesting of planets and all that stuff again, like they go back to that theme all the fucking time.
Yeah. Well, they probably. I mean, they're not wrong.
No, they're good. And like I honestly, if I was going to teach undergraduates philosophy, I'd make them watch Matrix 1, 2, and 3. And I would talk shit about why Quentin Tarantino's an idiot because he said Matrix 1 is good, Matrix 2 and Matrix 3 are shitty. If you really believe that, then you have a limitation to your ability to think because the 2 is important for a different reason and 3 is important for another reason. And if you haven't read philosophy and Western philosophy, then maybe you don't get it. Maybe you just don't get it.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously the guys at the top feed off of everyone underneath them, but that's kind of the way it works. I mean, we all are fucking predators. We feed off of anyone, and it sucks.
But there's
just pisses me off.
There's different ways of relating that concept to social reproduction. You can do that in different ways. We can be what we are in different ways. We can choose different things.
No, I get that, dude. I'm just saying that because, well, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
We'll come back to the second half.
Yeah, so fuck it. We're coming up on an hour and 15. So let's end this one, and then we'll come back for round 2.
All right, 720-334 roll.
shortbusdebateclub at yahoo.com.
Part 2. Soon to come.
See you later.